Hello there, this is the fourth and final Scented Souvenirs session. Welcome, here I am now. Scented Souvenirs, of course, being a project that I have created for ArtWaves Festival that sees participants offer 3 words to do with holidays. And then I will create a fragrance, a perfume, based on those 3 words. The participants can either join live and offer the 3 words live, or I've already got some participants that have already submitted their response, their 3 words. So I will be spending the next 2 hours sort of going through those particular participants, but in between those participants, people can ask me anything really, but offer 3 words in order to have me create a perfume here and now. So 4th session, I've already done sessions yesterday from 10 till 12 and then 1 till 3. And then today again from 10 till 12. So this is the final session of the weekend. ArtWaves Festival, of course, it was supposed to be a physical festival in Bridlington in May last year, which was going to be over the weekend. I believe there was a fringe festival too, which was scheduled and then subsequently moved online. I was intended to deliver Scented Souvenirs physically in Bridlington in May, and that was obviously rescheduled because of coronavirus, so it is now a virtual experience, which is what we're doing today. As I say, we have participants that have already got in touch in order for me to create a perfume, and we're going to go through those participants during this session. The first one is going to be at 1:15 p.m. It's currently 2 minutes past 1. So we've got about 10 minutes to go before we start with the first participant. In the meantime, you can chat with me on the live chat, ask me anything you like, ask me to make a perfume based on 3 words to do with holidays. In fact, I will just type in the chat to remind people that that's what they can do. So just bear with me a sec. Three words. General. Very much open to just having a bit of a chat in general, of course. As I was saying in the previous sessions, one of the nice things about festivals or sort of weekend events in general is that you're there very much to do a job, to do what you've sort of been commissioned to do. However, if it's participant-led, if people can physically come up to you and chat to you, what you find is you kind of talk to people about kind of anything and everything in the end, not just about your work. And I tried to retain that experience as much as possible in these sort of live sessions. So do feel free to chat about anything you like, really. I'll just get rid of a tab on my computer. Bear with me a sec. There we go. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be just about perfume or just about art. You can feel free to join in wherever you see fit. Still 10 minutes to go until the first participant. I don't want to, because it's a live session, I'm trying to stay quite strictly to the time scheduling, because the participant might want to see me create the perfume live. So I don't want to do it too early in case they miss the schedule. So that's why I'm waiting until, because I've already told them that it's going to be delivered at 1:15. So that's why we have this time of waiting around. The perfumes that I'm going to make are going to be eau de toilette fragrances using a combination of fragrance oils and essential oils, which I have at my disposal here. Got a fair few of them, probably about 50 or so here with me in my studio today. Obviously the theme is holidays. The whole process involves people asking, me asking people to offer me 3 words to do with holidays, and then I create a perfume based on that. And we've got a few sort of visual embellishments, like the old bucket and spade. I'm wearing a somewhat tropical sort of t-shirt. We've got the painting in the background there. So try to, adhere to the theme in a visual way, as well as through the scents that we're going to be making. I did have a hat that I was going to wear, but it came and it's too small. It's kind of quite a lot too small. So we've had to abandon the big hat plan, unfortunately. Truly the idea of wearing sunglasses, but I don't have any prescription sunglasses, so I wouldn't be able to see particularly well. So that was abandoned too. But I've made up for that with this rather fetching t-shirt, I feel. So so that's a thing. So the perfumes that I'm going to make are, as I say, they're a combination of essential oils and fragrance oils, which I have here. Essential oils are natural products that they've been made using natural ingredients. So if you have an essential oil lemon, it is made actually using lemon. If I had a fragrance oil lemon, that would be a compound that had been created in a lab that smells like a lemon, but doesn't actually include any physical sort of lemon presence within there. So, yeah, intuitively you might think that essential oils in general are the other way to go, and you might question why you'd want to even use fragrance oils because they're not particularly, not a natural product. There are some advantages, however, to using fragrance oils, and I do always try and make sure my fragrance oils are good quality oils. One of the big reasons that I use fragrance oils, honestly, is the cost implications, because it's quite difficult. It's a very slow process creating an essential oil. Certainly something like a rose, it takes thousands of petals, and it's a very slow process because you don't want to burn the petals whilst they're being steamed, distilled, or cold pressed. So it takes a long time, and therefore the cost is quite expensive. These vials here of the oils, they're 10 ml vials, and a rose essential oil could cost in the region of 50 odd pounds. Whereas a rose fragrance oil, because it's being created in a lab, the cost can come right down to a couple of pounds, and that is a very real, financial sort of implication, and that's why I certainly use, certain fragrance oils over essential oils because of the cost. However, that's not the only reason why you'd use fragrance oils. Fragrance oils are useful because there are things in nature. Well, there are things that don't exist in nature that you can get as a fragrance oil. So if you ever see anything like gingerbread or sea breeze, ocean fresh, or something like that, chances are that's going to be a fragrance oil because those things don't exist in nature as a thing that you can extract. And therefore, what that really does is it opens up the amount of possibilities that you have, because suddenly you've got not just the essential oils, but you've got a complement of fragrance oils that you can use as well. Other implications include ethical sort of implications of the likes of musks and ambers being traditionally created using animals. The fragrance oils don't include any of that, so they're obviously a friendlier, not cruel. And therefore, what we use over the sort of original oils, and that, for me, that's pretty much it in terms of the reasons why you'd use fragrance oils over essential oils. I think the fact that it gives you such a much wider sort of scope of ingredients to play with makes it worthwhile. But then again, you can absolutely just use essential oils in perfume making. There's a fragrance house called Guerrilla Fragrances, I think, that just use essential oils. So it's a very real thing that you can do. I think the industry standard, the fragrance industry standard, tends to be a combination of both within their products, and that's kind of what I do as well, actually. And that's what we'll be doing today. So thank you for joining us. If you're just joining us, we are at 1:10 on the 7th of March. This is the 4th perfume making scented souvenirs session for ArtWaves Festival. The first perfume we're going to make is going to be in 5 minutes time, unless participants want to engage in the live chat, in which case I'm happy to sort of try to make a perfume sort of in situ based on 3 words that you may have about holidays. So do feel free to use the live chat for that purpose, or indeed for sort of any purpose you like. Feel free to ask me sort of any question that pops into your head. Nothing wrong with that at all. The perfumes that we're going to be making, as I mentioned at the top of the session, are eau de toilette fragrances, and basically what that means here is that they are going to constitute 5% oils, fragrance oils, and 95% perfume as alcohol, which I have here. Perfume as alcohol being a relatively standard fragrance industry material to use. It's formulated to be kind to the skin and to dilute effectively the oils that we're going to use. In order to work out that 5% fragrance to 95% carrier oil, we're going to be using a set of Vueller's scales, really, but what I'm using in order to measure the amount of fragrance that goes into the bottles. I've done all this sort of working out these calculations beforehand, but basically what we need to do is we need to add 1.1 grams of fragrant oils into the bottle in order to achieve around 5%, which therefore constitutes an eau de toilette fragrance. I say around 5% because the industry standard isn't particularly fixed. Some fragrance houses consider it to be a bit more than 5%. Some fragrance houses a bit less than 5%. But I find it a lot easier in terms of the maths involved, just to say yes, it is 5%. So let's work to those numbers. So it's 13 minutes past 1. In 2 minutes' time, we will start making the first perfume. We as we said, we like to wait just until 1:15, because I've told the participant that's when I'll start making the perfume, and I don't want them to accidentally miss anything, as it is, of course, a live session. These are the perfumes here that I've already made during the previous 3 sessions. We've got a fair few of them, I think about 20 made altogether, and another 6 at least going to be made coming up. So we're going to have quite a complement of fragrances eventually. I think I might want to, or I would like to gift the perfumes to the participants eventually, maybe when it's a safer thing to do. I think it's with all of these sort of participatory sort of projects that I ever undertake, I do see them as sort of collaborative endeavours, because it wouldn't really exist without participation. So in terms of being sort of grateful for their sort of input, gifting the perfume seems like a nice way of saying thank you. So that's a thing that we can think about maybe in the future. We are now coming up to 1:15, not quite there yet, so I'll give it a few more seconds, a minute or so. I haven't. I've got all the responses written down, but I'm trying not to really look at the responses before making the perfume, because in the spirit of it being a festival and doing things sort of in situ and doing things sort of intuitively, which was the initial sort of premise behind what I was doing. I'm trying not to think too much or even look at the responses that I've received. And I think it's worked pretty well so far. It is now 1:15, so we can now continue and create the first perfume of this particular session, the final session of Scented Souvenirs. The participant that I am making this perfume for is Liana Borkowsky, my sister, who got in touch through Facebook with her 3 words. If you are watching, Liana, hi. Thank you for your response. Thank you for your response, which was the 3 words to do with holidays. And the response that she gave is exploring, sunshine, and Fanta lemon. So they're the 3 words, 3 phrases, I guess, that I'm going to utilize in order to create the perfume. So you've got exploring, sunshine, and Fanta lemon. And as with the perfumes that I've made previously, you can kind of play it quite literal and try and think about quite literal sort of things. So obviously lemon for Fanta lemon, or you could try and think about it in a bit more of an abstract way and think about how those words make you feel. So words like exploring, when you think about that, you think about being outside, you think about being quite, being happy because you're on your holidays, the sun's shining, you've got your Fanta lemon, so you can sort of try and think about it in 2 sort of different ways, really. Intuitively, because the word lemon's in it, it is quite difficult not to think about actual lemon. So we've got some lemon essential oil here, and obviously it will smell like Fanta lemon to an extent because it is lemon scented. It's a lemon. It's made using real lemons. So we've got the lemon there. Liana says hi. So hi, Liana. Yeah, okay there. So we've got the Fanta lemon, sunshine. How do we evoke sunshine through the medium of perfume making? Previously, I think sunshine's come up once or twice previously. I guess this kind of thing might happen with the final Scented Souvenir session. And I used sweet orange for it because it's quite evocative of the sun. An orange certainly is evocative of the sun. So and of heat. In fact, when I'm thinking about heat, I might just pop a little bit of cinnamon in there as well, just to give it a little bit of a kick, like a physical sort of heat, as well as a sort of metaphorical sort of heat of the sweet orange. Just a little drop of cinnamon. So we've sort of thought about the Fanta lemon. We've thought about the sunshine. Exploring is another word that was used. When I think about exploring, I think about being outdoors. I think about going to places I've not been before, and therefore we can try and think about fragrances there that somehow sort of reference that. We've got quite a few fragrances that are from different countries. So, for example, this is just an example. I don't tend to use this, but this fir needle is from Serbia. So some of these oils are from different parts of the world, and that is kind of conducive to the idea of exploring potentially. We've also got things like, and I've used this a few times, but lavender, which is a scent that's been used traditionally for sort of outdoor sort of exploration and activity because it has sort of medicinal sort of properties that sort of allow you to essentially continue sort of outdoor exploration, I suppose. So I do like using lavender because it has got that sort of symbolic sort of reference to being outside and exploring, and I think it will go well actually with what we've got here so far. So we've got lemon, sweet orange, and cinnamon to sort of evoke the idea of Fanta lemon and of sunshine and being outside. We've got lavender to sort of reference the idea of exploration, walking around, being in places you've not been before. And so we've still got, we've responded to all three of Liana's 3 words. However, we are making a perfume, and what that means is I've got top notes here, I've got base note, I've got mid notes here as well. But what I haven't got is any base notes. And to make a perfume in an effective way, you need all 3 notes in order for it to be coherent. When you spray a perfume, the first thing that you smell is the top note, and then eventually that makes way to the middle notes. Then eventually the lasting impression that you have is the base notes. So I could do the base note to give that lasting impression, that end sort of impression in Liana's perfume. Otherwise, it'd be quite a brief sort of perfume. And these are the base notes I've got here, just on this shelf here at the bottom. So I need to think about a base note that would be in response to what Liana was saying about exploring, or sunshine, or Fanta lemon. Intuitively, I want to use something like patchouli, because that's quite evocative of being outside. It's got that sort of almost kind of hippie connotations of being outdoors and sort of enjoying life. So it seems to make sense to use patchouli for that particular response that Liana gave me. Well, the word exploring that Liana used. So patchouli for the exploration. Lavender also evokes exploration and being outside. Sunshine evoked by the physical heat of cinnamon against the sweet orange, and Fanta lemon represented, believe it or not, with lemon. So to make the perfume, as I said earlier, we basically need to add 5% we need to use 5% fragrance and 95% perfume as alcohol. And what that means is I need to decant 5 drops of each of these oils directly into the bottle, making sure it hits around about 1.1 grams. The past sort of sessions that I've done tell me that about 5 drops of each of these fragrances will equal around about 1.1 grams. So let's go for it. This is the patchouli to begin with. Quite an earthy scent, this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Quite an earthy, almost a little bit, almost a little bit medicinal, actually, which is what actually is kind of what I was saying earlier about the lavender being medicinal. I guess it shares some properties with the patchouli. Speaking of the lavender, this is going in next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The cinnamon is going in next. To be specific, this is actually cinnamon acetate, so it's what's known as an aroma compound rather than an essential oil. Essential oils, basically, they're so complex that they basically have like 5 or 6 different scents within them. And what aroma compounds do is they sort of extract one very specific scent from those 5, 6 different scents. So as such, it's a little bit more subtle than cinnamon, as you might expect. But I think that's quite useful because cinnamon can be quite overpowering otherwise. We'll add only 4 drops of this because it can overwhelm potentially, so not 5. That's 4 drops. Lemon. I'll tell you what, we'll add 6 of lemon because this would be the top of the perfume. 2, 3, 4, 5. And obviously one of Liana's responses was Fanta lemon, so that would be the first thing that sort of springs to mind when this perfume is sprayed. And then 5 drops of sweet orange. Very fruity. 3, 4, 5. And that's 1.07 grams, which is more or less 5% overall fragrance. That is the perfume in terms of the fragrance involved. That's all of it. Now what we need to do is dilute it with the perfume as alcohol. Here is the perfume as alcohol. And it's 30 ml that we've given to pour out. Splendid. And that again just goes directly into the bottle. There we go. Easy enough. And the lid goes on. And then we give the thing a good shake. Generally with perfume making, you shake for a few minutes. But for the purposes of this, I'll just shake for a little second or two just to show you, because it is not particularly interesting. And it does sort of vibrate the vocal cords a bit, so it makes it hard to talk. So that is the perfume effectively created. Last thing to do is to write Liana's name on and the ingredients that was used. Liana, and then we've got cinnamon or cinnamon. Chili, and that's it. 1, 2, yep, all 5 of them on there. And this is stuck onto the bottle, and there you go, Liana. That is your perfume. I don't know if that the camera's picking up it in a particularly effective way, but you can go there. Fantastic. That is the first one created. Liana, thank you very much for your response, your 3 words. Great stuff. I just need to quickly wipe this table. And important thing, put these things back away, because otherwise it'll be completely disorganized and I won't know where all the oils have gone. Oh, that's a bit sticky, that one. That's just... lemon, sweet orange, thank you, Liana, you're welcome. Thank you for the live chat, and thank you for your response, of course. Yeah, and I guess see you in May sometime when we're allowed out to play again. I think is probably going to be what happens. Suki sends love, good. So does River the cat to you, Liana, and to you, Suki. Suki being Liana's dog, who was 10 very recently. And River being my cat, me and Cham's cat, who we've only just got, well, we got a few months ago. It's a rescue cat. That is the first perfume made for today's session. The next perfume that we have scheduled is at 1:45. So we've got about 15 minutes to go until then. So if anybody wants to ask me anything or wants to get a perfume made and therefore, you know, offer a response, 3 words to do with holidays, then they can feel free to do so through live chat. You can also do so via Facebook. If you've seen the live stream on Facebook, feel free to just comment in it. I will sort of look at it every now and again during these sessions. So feel free to do that. Nobody's said anything on Facebook as yet. That's fine. Ace. Half an hour into this session already. It's been a really fun sort of activity to do, actually. Didn't know exactly how it was all going to pan out. I knew it was going to go online about 2 or 3 months ago. That was sort of definitely going to go online. So I tried to keep it as true to the original sort of premise as possible. The original premise of Scented Souvenirs was that it was going to be a physical sort of, I guess, performance, if you like, that was going to take place in Bridlington over the course of the weekend of May 2020. And it was going to be a little bit more to do with sort of storytelling, actually. What was going to happen was I was going to get some custom dice created, 3 custom dice, and participants would approach my sort of installation, and they'd roll the dice, and then they're going to pick pictorial picture dice. So the 3 pictures that would have been facing us, I would have used to tell a story through creating perfumes. And the pictures would be sort of related to holidays in some way. So you might have like a parasol, a beach, the sun, walking, you know. So quite nice, sort of informal stories that I was going to sort of create based on their experiences as well. It's going to be a bit of a conversational sort of thing. And obviously that sort of couldn't happen because of coronavirus. So that was kind of out of the window, you know, initially. And then I think it was around about a few months ago, there was the idea that we potentially could do something in Bridlington still, physically in Bridlington. But I got rid of the dice element because we didn't want people touching anything. And maybe they would just sort of approach me. Either they could maybe use a tablet and that would go, or a phone, and that would go to an app that sort of gave them sort of virtual dice or something like that. In the end, we couldn't do anything at all physically anyway in Bridlington. So when it became fully online, I decided just to ask people for 3 words about holidays. The reason why I didn't go for the sort of virtual dice is because I quite like the idea that the participants still could give me something of their own personality a bit, without having to have a conversation physically. If it was just going to be a randomizer, there wouldn't be enough sort of creative sort of agency for the participants. So I thought, well, I'll let the participant have a bit of sort of control over the process by giving them sort of provision to ask me to give me their own responses rather than randomized responses. And that's where the idea of 3 words about holidays sort of came into being. People could deliver their three words via Facebook or via a special sort of link on my website. Mostly through Facebook, actually. I think in the end, Facebook's still quite a useful tool. I find that I use for my sort of art sort of practice. So yeah, that was kind of how it all sort of came about, from the sort of early beginnings of it being a very real physical festival to it now being a virtual festival, which it's been really good, actually. I've enjoyed delivering it from here in my studio. And I guess one of the advantages of it being a virtual festival is that it sort of opens out the engagement a little bit more to a wider audience, because it would have just been limited, I guess, to people that were in Bridlington at that specific time otherwise. And because of the wonders of technology, anybody from around the world could have got involved. So that's one of the advantages of it being actually in the end virtual. So 33 minutes past 1. So we've got another 10 minutes or so until the next perfume gets created. This is a live session. Hello, if you're, and thank you for joining me here today. Feel free to use the live chat to ask me anything you like. Oh, somebody said something. It's Sharon Mosbeck, Sharon Borkowsky. What are in the bigger bottles behind the rolls of tape? In the bigger bottles behind the rolls of tape, we have some alcohol gel, which I use just to make my hands smell less potent, sort of when I get sort of in amongst the fragrance oils and the essential oils. So that's quite useful. These ones here, the ones that are kind of the white top, they're all fragrance oils that I tend to use a bit less than the other fragrance oils, because they don't have a pipette sort of stopper on them. So they're just a little bit more. They're not that tricky, but they're a little bit more. There's a little bit more to them, just sort of decantering drops. But they're all fragrance oils that I've kind of got anyway on these shelves. So that's what those are. These 2 here are oils that I can't fit on shelves. These two here. This one is rosemary floral water, which I thought potentially I might use for a specific reason. What you can do with perfume as alcohol is I could say put 25 ml of perfume as alcohol in and 5 ml of sort of rosemary floral water in to give it a bit of a scented sort of kick if I needed to. Haven't particularly used it. Didn't expect to use it necessarily, but it's here anyway. These are ones again that I can't fit here, and this is cherry kernel carrier oil, which I brought just in case for any particular reason I wanted to make an oil-based perfume. You can make perfumes that are alcohol-based, which is generally what the industry uses for eau de toilettes. If you ever see anything in shops or perfumes in general that have stoppers like this, i.e. ones that sort of spray, I don't know if you can see that, sort of spray down, chances are they've got perfume as alcohol in them, or maybe a combination of perfume as alcohol and water, like the floral rosemary water, for example. If you see any bottles with these sort of pipettes like that, or if you just see them where they don't have that sort of spray element to them, chances are they are actually made using a carrier oil, such as cherry kernel. Generally, if I'm ever making ones that are to do with, if they're oil based, I tend to use sweet almond oil, which is largely unscented and sort of carries the fragrance to the skin effectively. So that's them really. That's what I've got there. Hope that answered the question all right. And this one here is just kind of a bit of embellishment. Otherwise, it's a little bit more bland without it. Pop that back. These, of course, being all the ones that we made. This has just got some empty bottles in that I'm going to use eventually. This has got all sorts of. This is very much behind the scenes situation now. That's just got some random stuff in, like scissors and a few pens in case I run out of ink or whatever. This is the roll of. This is scraping the barrel somewhat, but this is the roll of labels that I'm using. Yeah, that's kind of it really in terms of what I've got going on here. These two pictures here are two sort of watercolor and pen drawings that I created about a year ago when I was making some slightly more commercial perfumes, which are still available today, in fact. But that was one. I don't know if the camera's picking that up all right. But that was one based on the idea of a horn of plenty, so like lots of sort of fruits, and the perfume that I made for that was a commercial sort of perfume that was largely fruity. It was quite a basic sort of perfume. That's completely broken. Interesting. Yeah, quite a fruity sort of perfume that was quite a simple perfume to make, but it was my first sort of foray really into making sort of a commercial sort of perfume. Try and put that back in a way it doesn't destroy it. That one there as well is quite a fruity number. Liang Liang and Lemon, I believe, is what you can see there, and that was a sort of summer-based fragrance that I made. They were made for an exhibition, well, for a sort of scented sort of exhibition stroke sort of scent trail that I made for Bristol Museum, which was going to be a scent trail that you could sort of go on within their art gallery, but unfortunately it didn't come to fruition because of coronavirus. But I may well work with them again in the future, you never know. These little sort of things here, these are holders, like picture holders that I've had them for about 10 years. I used to work in a shop called The Pier. I don't know if anybody remembers The Pier, but they are from there. It was kind of like a furniture and sort of home decor kind of shop, and I've never used them ever for anything, but they've managed to sort of come with me from Chester, where I was originally when I lived, which is where I lived when I worked at the pier, to Sheffield, and then subsequently in all the houses that I lived in Sheffield. So they're well travelled, even though I've never really used them up until this point. But there we are. Coming up to 20 to 1 now. So the next perfume, as mentioned, is going to be made at 1:45 to 2. 20 to 2, sorry, not 20 to 1. In 5 minutes' time, I'm going to start making the second perfume in this perfume Scented Souvenirs session. Again, I know who's the name of the guy that I'm making it for, but I've deliberately not really looked too much at the response that he gave me, these 3 words that he gave me, because I want to sort of retain that spontaneity, and I don't want to make the perfume before 1:45, because I've let the participant know that that's when I'm going to make the perfume. So, I want to hold out, and I don't want him to miss anything if he is watching live. Quick check on Facebook in case anybody's responded for any particular reason through Facebook. Oh, I have had a comment. It's from my mom. It's from my dad via my mom. Dad said, "How do you get all the different fragrances?" Well, Dad, and indeed Mom, and indeed everybody watching, the fragrances that I've got, well, all these fragrances here are sourced from about 2 or 3 different companies. This one here, well, I don't know if you can see this particularly well. Any of the ones that have got kind of quite a block sort of colour on them, I got from a company called Naturally Thinking, who are based, I think they're based down south in Kent, or there's an office in Croydon, I know. But they've got their own sort of farms. They've got like lavender farms, rose farms. So they make some of their essential oils in situ, whilst they're there. But they also sort of ethically sell a whole range of essential oils. So generally, I get my essential oils from Naturally Thinking. I predominantly use essential oils, honestly. The ones that are a bit more sort of formal looking, that are white, you probably can't see the writing particularly well, but they're just white with a bit of writing on them. They're the aroma compounds I was talking to you about earlier. In fact, anything that's white with a bit of a lot of text on, they're all aroma compounds or fragrance oils that I've got from one company called Plush Folly, which, again, as with Naturally Thinking, you can find online. So they're the aroma compounds and the essential oils. The fragrance oils I sort of get from kind of anywhere and everywhere, really, wherever I can. There was a place in Leeds near the train station in Leeds that I went to get a few fragrance oils. I've got a few of them online, sort of just generally looking online for some sort of good quality oils. But there's no, in terms of the fragrance oils, there's no sort of hard sort of place that I definitely get them from. I sort of shop around a bit. These bottles that I use as well are also from Naturally Thinking. They're plastic, but they're sort of eco-plastic, so you can recycle them and they're sustainable, all this kind of all that good stuff, which is obviously what I want to sort of start doing a little bit more, making sustainable work, really, not just perfume, but all of my sort of work. And the perfume as alcohol I got from a company called Mistrali, who you can get online. This is obviously 1 litre, but you can get all sorts of different quantities. I've got like a 10 litre sort of vat of it in my studio in town. I keep calling this my studio here, but in reality it's actually my bedroom, which we've sort of kitted out in order to perform Scented Souvenirs this weekend. So that's a thing. It is very nearly 1:45. Hope that answers your question, Dad, by the way, instantly. And hi, thanks for watching. Very nearly 1:45. So the next perfume is imminent in a minute's time. Indeed, it is now 1:45, so we will proceed with the next perfume. The participant is Mikk Murray, who is a Sheffield-based artist. I believe he's Sheffield-based. I've met him once or twice in certain sort of private views and things back when we could do that. Hello, Mick. Hopefully you're watching. Thank you for your response. Your 3 words that you gave me: moonlit, wild, and camp are the 3 words that Mick has provided. So moonlit, wild, and camp. That's an interesting response. As I was saying, sort of at the top of the show a bit more, it's the range of responses has been quite interesting, and this is one that we've not quite explored yet. The idea of sort of camping and being outdoors, I guess, fully outdoors in the wild. Intuitively, with something like the word wild, you kind of think about sort of the tree-based fragrances that we've got. Certainly something like sandalwood, cedarwood. We've got cedarwood and pine. I'm sort of intuitively, I'm thinking about, you know, being in amongst sort of a lot of different sort of trees, shrubs, wild sort of flowers, and all this kind of all that kind of stuff. So the idea of cedarwood and pine needle already been quite evocative of that. We'll leave fir needle where it is. Campfire or camp. Intuitively, I want to go for something like ginger, because the idea that I'll just try and find the ginger. Yeah, the idea that the campfire is sort of a source of kind of warmth and a source of heat, a source of, you know, where you want to be. So ginger sort of evokes that sort of heat. I'm going to add musk as well to the proceedings. This is a fragrance oil musk, just to give that sort of feeling of people sort of around a campfire, and that kind of sort of warm sort of fragrance of sort of musk representing people, I suppose. What did I say? Ginger. I would like to use ginger. There's ginger. So cedarwood, musk, pine needle, ginger. Moonlit's going to be quite a. I don't think I'm going to sort of literally refer to the idea of moonlighting, because I think the idea of being sort of, you know, around a camp in the wild in the nighttime is sort of already sort of exemplified by what I've got here already. I guess musk, you could argue, sort of gives that kind of sort of sedate sort of nighttime sort of vibe. Camp. So we've got some base notes and some mid notes. So what I'm looking for now is some top notes to sort of complement what we've already got here. Wild is quite an interesting one. We've got some quite wild. I mean, we've got based on what I've already sort of got here, some sort of herbal scents wouldn't go amiss. I've got something like tea tree, which is kind of, I guess, more like a medicinal sort of fragrance in a way, but kind of synonymous with sort of that a kind of outdoor lifestyle. I think kind of a herbal sort of remedy kind of vibe would work well for Mick's, in order to respond to Mick's 3 words. I wonder, actually, as we were talking about it earlier, I wonder if it's time to use a bit of the rosemary floral water. Rosemary, of course, being something synonymous with being outside, and you've got that kind of that sort of shrub, that herb that can allude to the idea of it being wild. I think I'm going to do that. This is slightly different to what I've been doing previously, in that I'm going to add a little bit of floral water to the dilution process. But in the meantime, let's measure out the 5%. So as I said earlier, I'm making an eau de toilette fragrance. So it's going to be 5% of the overall concoction is going to be these oils here, which I'm going to measure out using the scale. And I'm going to put 5 drops of each bottle into the overall concoction. So musk's going in first, 5 drops thereof. 1. So that's 5 of the musk, 5 of the cedar wood next. My favourite scents is cedar wood. I do like the woody scents in general. Here it comes. 1, 2, 4, and then 5. 5 of pine needle next, really sort of evoking that kind of that sort of woody outdoor sort of atmosphere with the pine needle. 5. Whoop. Ginger, I'm only going to put 1 drop of ginger in actually because it's a very overwhelming scent potentially, so just the 1 drop will be all we need. There it goes. I'm finding the tea tree, 5 drops thereof. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is the concoction, the fragrance effectively complete. Now we're going to add 25 ml of perfume with alcohol, and then 5 ml eventually of the rosemary water. There's the alcohol in. Here's the rosemary. A bit of a cloudy one, but that's okay. That will, when shaken, that will sort of become combined effectively. So as before, we're going to give it a quick shake rather than a 2-minute shake because we don't really need to see me shake something for 2 minutes. Already that's not so cloudy though, as you can see. So as before, we're going to add Mikk's name to the perfume bottle, for which I will just give this a quick wipe. So that's the rose. That's now got the rosemary on it. Mikk. And then one musk, cedar wood, needle, ginger, and tea tree. Mikk, if you're watching, hello and thank you for your response. Here is your perfume. Very sort of outdoor atmosphere evoked using various sort of woods and herbs, trees, which has been punctuated by the ginger, which is warming, so evocative of sort of wild sort of campfires and moonlighting, and also the musk, just to evoke the idea of sort of being with people. Sorted, that's the second perfume made of this particular session. We have got 5 more or 6 more minutes until the next perfume's getting created. So that's good. Just checking on Facebook to see if anybody's commented. They haven't. That's fine. So yes, top of the hour, 2 o'clock is when we are going to create the next perfume for the next participant. So 5 more minutes to go. Tea tree. And as before, I'm just making sure that these are put back nicely. Being organised is quite important. Otherwise, it's difficult to create perfumes quickly. Which is obviously what it's all about today. Do feel free in the next 5 minutes or so to ask me anything you like if you want. You can give me 3 words to do with holidays if you fancy it, or you can just ask me anything about anything really, anything that you see here, anything about my work, anything about perfumes, or just anything about anything in life, if you like. There's the live chat in the on the left hand side as I look at it. I don't know if it's the same for everybody else. And you can also comment just on Facebook if you've seen a link to my live video. That's fine too. I do tend to use these tapes here quite extensively in my own in my work. I intended to sort of use them for these bottles during the live sessions, but they've been quite a fast-paced sort of session, so I've not really got round to doing that. But I do use the tapes quite a lot. They're very versatile. They sort of offer colour very quickly. You can get colour quite quickly on bottles just by sort of sticking those tapes onto them, and there's a huge range of different styles and different colours that you can get. So it's kind of my medium of choice really whenever trying to make perfumes. Well, when designing the visual sort of liveries of perfumes, particularly for ones like in plastic bottles like this, I think it looks quite effective. Previously, I've sort of painted using acrylics, or I've gold leafed, or sort of paper mache and all this kind of stuff. And they all have their own sort of unique effects. But in terms of convenience, certainly the washi tapes are the thing to go to, and I think they look quite neat and quite effective when used sort of correctly. And they're very useful for perfume making workshops too, which is something that I used to stage quite frequently, and hopefully will stage frequently again at some point. But I haven't done one for a while. Since I haven't done one for about 6 months, I think. But from May, June onwards, hopefully that will be something that I start up again. Perfume making workshops, of course, they were. What happens in perfume making workshops is that I sort of give a demonstration of how to make a perfume, and then I allow participants to make ones of their own using the materials that I've and the bottles and the tapes that I've sort of brought along with me. Fun sessions to do. It's all about sort of introducing the perfume making process really, and sort of revealing how actually perfume can be sort of for anyone. It's a fun activity. It doesn't have to be particularly complex, can be a lot of fun, and that's kind of what sort of is underpinned, or what underpins quite a lot of my work actually. The idea that maybe you can make perfume quite an accessible sort of medium to use. It feels quite an elitist thing to potentially make, or maybe not even elitist, maybe just seemingly quite expensive thing to get into, but in reality, it isn't particularly expensive. You can certainly create effective perfumes on a relatively cheap budget. And my perfume making workshops, I try and price rather cheap, as cheap as I possibly can, whilst making a viable sort of income. I think it's a nice way to introduce the idea that perfume could be sort of an art medium in the same vein as painting or sculpture or printmaking or more established sort of art disciplines. Very nearly at the 2 o'clock mark, 1 minute to go. I will give it until 2 before I start making the perfume. And as I say that, it has ticked over to 2 o'clock. So the next perfume that I'm going to make is the participant is Hayley Parfitt, who I believe was an MA student at Glasgow University alongside me. I think I was doing animation at one point at that time, and I think you were doing fine art, or you were certainly doing a different discipline to me, and so we didn't cross paths all that much. I don't think, but I do know who you are. And, I remember being in lessons with you, and hello, and thank you very much for your response to Scented Souvenirs. Your 3 words that you offered me were exploring, culture, and relaxed. So exploring, culture, relaxed. So that's 3 words there. Intuitively, what do I think about those words? Well, I think about evoking how relaxation, from the context of aromatherapy, there are plenty of oils that sort of evoke relaxation, one of which being one of my favourite oils to use, which I haven't used all that much in these sessions, Liang Liang. So quite a subtle but quite a complex floral fragrance, quite a deep floral fragrance, and a base note which is unusual for floral. And the word relaxed, it immediately evoked the idea of Liang Liang, so probably makes sense to actually use that. Exploration we've got, which is kind of not dissimilar, I guess, to what we did with Mikk previously. Let's think about ones that we can use for exploration. Culture as well. With culture, I'm wondering about using oils that are a little bit more from different sort of parts of the world, sort of just to sort of allude to the idea, that there's different sort of cultures and different ways of living and all this kind of all that kind of thing. As such, we've got stuff like we've got a floral base. So maybe we could try and do some sort of floral sort of perfume, which I am using lavender again, which is fine because it is what comes up. The idea of exploration, as previously mentioned, I like using lavender for that kind of response because it's synonymous with being outside and it being quite medicinal in order for you to sort of continue, your sort of exploration, continue your walking, and all that kind of stuff. So I wonder if, because lavender, I've also got jasmine. It's a dilution rather than a straight up essential oil because jasmine is quite expensive oil normally, but it's from Egypt. So we've got Bulgaria and Egypt as middle notes, which sort of allude to the idea of culture, different cultures, exploring different cultures. So just their sort of physical or their locality maybe is enough to respond effectively to what Hayley was saying there. So we've got exploring, we've got culture, and we've got all 3 words represented really there. We've got the Liang Liang being relaxed, the lavender sort of evoking a certain relaxation while being synonymous with exploring too, and then jasmine sort of for the idea that of different cultures and different sort of parts of the world that you can sort of explore. So we've got our base notes and our mid notes. So we can still do with a top note in order to create a fully fledged perfume here. Immediately I picked up Raven Sarah, which is from Madagascar. So it's a again, it alludes to that idea of exploration, culture. Derived from a plant from Madagascar. Quite sort of similar to tea tree in how it smells. Actually, it's got that medicinal, slightly herbal, but a little bit more woody fragrance. So I guess we've got quite a floral, woody combination going on here, which is nice. So they're intuitively what I've decided to use. Liang Liang and lavender evoking the idea of being relaxed. Jasmine sort of evoking the idea, along with lavender, of different cultures. And then Raven Sarah for the sort of, well, kind of all-round response. You know, it's in terms of it being sort of quite an exotic fragrance, therefore, you know, synonymous with exploring, also with culture. So yeah, I think that's a good combination. Let's start with the Liang Liang then. That's the Liang Liang there. And as ever, it's 5 drops. Well, I say as ever. Depends on how many oils we use, but in this case, 5 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lavender, 5 again. Jasmine, 5 drops. Very sort of quite subtle sort of floral scent. I guess it is diluted, so it's not as potent as it could be. I do like using jasmine generally, although usually it's a fragrance oil rather than anything else. 1, 2, 3, 5. And the Raven Sarah to finish things off, 5 drops thereof. Quickly with the hands because it's got a little bit on my hand there. And as before, we are going to add the perfume as alcohol. $30 ml going in. Off it goes. And the old shake for a few seconds. Again, we should normally, in normal circumstances, we'd shake this for a few minutes to ensure an even, balanced fragrance. And I will do that off camera, but there's no need to do it on camera because it's not the most interesting process. And finally, it is time for the label. Hayley, thanks very much for your contribution, for your response, for your 3 words there. Excellent. There we are. There is the bottle. All done. I'm not sure if you can quite read that, but just say Hayley Parfitt on it, and it will just be placed there alongside the rest of the gang. Thank you very much, Hayley, for your response. We will continue straight away with Roger Parfitt, Hayley's husband there, who has also responded with 3 words. Roger and Hayley, if you're watching, thank you for your words. Roger's words are excitement, wonder, and companion. So excitement, wonder, and companion are the 3 words that Roger has provided. Thank you very much. Let's pop these back before we do anything. So excitement, wonder, and companion. Nice, good words, good words. We have intuitively what I want to do with that kind of response is think about how you, I guess, from the context of sort of aromatherapy, how oils can be utilized to evoke senses of excitement and wonder, and a companion can be sort of also included using sort of musks and sort of ambers to sort of symbolize human sort of interaction. So excitement, immediately with excitement, you think about things like orange and lemon because they are happy, sort of joyous sort of sense. So we'll grab those just for now. What else have we got? So any kind of fruity fragrance really is quite evocative of happiness in general from some of an aromatherapy context. It is they're uplifting sort of sharp kicks of sort of happiness, which is how I use them sometimes in my work as well. I'm gonna use lemon and mandarin. I feel like I've used sweet orange quite a lot to represent more like sunshine and heat and things like that. So mandarin, equally sort of joyous. Lemon kind of also has that sort of happy sort of property to it. Companion, as I say, we're going to use amber and musk for the idea of sort of having a companion with you. Amber and musk are both base notes, so they're kind of they're quite a grounded sort of heavy sort of note. And it's quite a strong sort of fragrance from that sort of aromatherapy context, and that's synonymous with having a companion, having somebody there alongside you, and you have sort of a sort of combined sort of strength and happiness together. So I think that's why the musks are going to get used and the ambers are going to get used for that. So excitement, wonder, and companion. I guess we've got excitement and companion. We haven't really got wonder as such. Sometimes I respond to sort of all three words together as sort of one. And sometimes I sort of like to sort of deconstruct it a bit and try and think about each word individually. And I think in this case, I thought about each word individually. So I'm trying to think about something that's synonymous with the idea of wonder. Again, I'm sort of thinking about using scents that are not intrinsic to the UK, because the idea of sort of exploring and being sort of out and about is synonymous with wonderment, or with with wandering around, or with exploring and that kind of thing. When I think of wonder, I sort of think more about exploring than I do about being sort of awestruck or anything like that. That's kind of my interpretation. Anyway, so let's just try and find some. Try and find some notes that might give you that kind of feeling of. Well, actually, I've just thought now. Maybe I'll use something kind of unexpected in the scent. That's a little bit different to what we've got here. And like literally, you know, when you smell it, you are sort of in wonderment about it because it doesn't quite sort of fit, or maybe something like cinnamon, but not cinnamon. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to use cinnamon to evoke the idea of wonder, because I think we've got sort of quite fruity fragrances, and we've got quite sort of subtle, sort of musky fragrances. And cinnamon will sort of punctuate that somewhat, and it'll be unexpected. It'll be the middle note that exists within the fragrance. So when the sort of light fruits have sort of given way, you have quite a punch of cinnamon, then that will give way to sort of more sort of light, sort of deep, sort of musky fragrances. So thinking about, you know, the construction of the perfume, maybe I can sort of create a sort of an unexpected sort of element to it that evokes the idea of wonderment, of, you know, exploration, of the unexpected. Yeah, I'm going to do that. That's my intuitive sort of mode of thinking. So let's run with it. So the musks and the ambers, to represent the companion, are going in first. 5 drops of. Ooh, a bit more than 5. Whoops, it's okay. Five drops of musk next. White musk. Five drops of cinnamon. Again, this is the cinnamon acetate, so it's the aroma compound rather than straight up cinnamon, but it still has a potency to it. 2, 3, 4, 5. But let's put 6 in. It's going to be quite. It's going to be quite a hit with 6 there. 5 of lemon. 5 of mandarin, finally. 4, 5. Fab. Then it's perfume is alcohol time. $30 ml, of course, as before. In the bottle. There we go. Top on. And that, Roger, is the perfume that I've made for you there. The amber and the musk representing the companionship, the lemon and the mandarin representing sort of excitement, and the wonderment coming from the unexpected hit of cinnamon. And it's time for the label. Roger, and then we've got superb. That is your perfume, Roger. That is your perfume made. Thank you very much for your response. That's Hayley and Roger's together. Very nice. And then it's the old put them away again. Cinnamon, lemon. Lemon there, cinnamon there. There we go. That's the next one made. That's Roger and Hayley. Thank you very much for your contributions there. Hopefully I've done your 3 words justice, as is the case with everybody. Hopefully I've done their words justice. The next perfume that we're going to make is at 2:30, so we've got about 10 minutes to go before then. As ever, if you want to get in touch, feel free to do so, either through Facebook or through the online chat service that we've got going on. Just checking Facebook to see if anybody has responded in any way. I can see there, that's fine. This is in terms of a perfume making process. It's obviously it's very quick, sort of very quick fire process. Normally, when I make perfumes for any specific reason, I tend to go away and think a little bit about, you know, the fragrances that I'm going to use and why I'm using them, and the quantity of the fragrance used. And the process can take a long time. You know, it can take months to arrive at a coherent correct fragrance that I want to make. I was always aware during this kind of process it wasn't going to be as easy as that, or it was going to be a different process to that. It's more about sort of thinking on your feet and being kind of spontaneous and being quite intuitive. And I guess it's a different way of working, which I'm not used to, and also I'm not used to describing sort of absolutely, all of my thought processes, to camera. But it's quite a useful, almost quite a cathartic sort of process, because it makes me think about the process a little bit more, and what I could do differently and how I could approach it differently. So it's been quite interesting from quite a personal standpoint to sort of undertake the project the way I am doing. I'm really glad that I'm doing it this way, as it pushes me out of my comfort zone a little bit. It's not exactly how I would normally make perfumes, but it's good. It's good to good change to the norm, or to my normal process. Of course, this as I've said a few times in my previous sessions, I do see myself as an artist rather than a perfume maker. And what I mean by that is, whilst I'm disciplined and stick to the process of making an edible or any perfume quite rigidly in order for it to be a sort of in order to give the project some integrity, at the same time, there is a certain sort of freedom about being an artist and being able to sort of experiment and explore and even fail and get things wrong without any real implications. I've spoken to certain fragrance houses, and they've said things along the lines of, well, if we make one perfume a year, it's been a good year, because there's a lot that goes into a commercial perfume, such as the branding, getting it absolutely spot on correct, getting everything perfectly lined up, promoting the fragrance, sourcing the materials, all this kind of stuff that I don't really have to do. I can buy the materials and I can experiment in a relatively cost-effective way, and I've got a certain freedom, and I can make perfumes. They're not commercially viable, they are works of art. They're not supposed to be commercial products, just like some commercial fragrances aren't supposed to be works of art. There's nothing, both sort of sides of the argument, where you've got the perfumes that are commercial and you've got the art project that uses perfumery, both perfectly obviously valid sort of ways of creating, and both sort of important in their own right. But I do see myself in the sort of artist using perfume camp, and I think I want to stay there. I don't want to be a master perfumer. I think where I am, my position within that kind of landscape is an interesting one, where I can use the craft, the beauty, the history of perfume, and apply it to contemporary art, which is obviously what I've been sort of which is what my career is sort of about. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about where I sit within those two sort of industries, I suppose. So the next perfume that we're going to make is going to be at 2:30, so that's going to be in 6 minutes' time. Feel free, of course, as ever, to get in touch if you fancy it. You can use the live chat. You can use the Facebook chat. That well, if you see the link on Facebook, you can comment on the link, and yeah, feel free to do those things if you fancy it. Of course, when I say that, I mean during the live session. Although if you're watching this and it's not a live session, and you do feel free to comment on the video, and I will see the comments and I will respond to the comment, just making sure nothing's being said anywhere that I've missed. Yeah. So only 2 more perfumes to go, pending anybody getting in touch. In the interim between now and 3 o'clock with their own 3 words. There's 2 more to make. We've got quite a complement of perfumes here already, probably about 20 of them. I think I'll probably give or gift these perfumes at some point when it's a bit more safe to do so, because I do see these kind of participatory sort of projects as being somewhat collaborative. I couldn't make these perfumes without participants engaging in the project, so I do see things that way, and therefore the gifting of the perfume seems like a thing to do. They'll all be sort of waiting in my studio at some point. And 7 minutes past 2 now, on the 7th of March. This is Scented Souvenirs. This is the project that I've done as part of ArtWaves Festival, that sees me create perfumes here in my studio in response to participants and the 3 words that they've shared with me in response to holidays. We've had varied, intriguing responses so far, quite different responses, and I've tried to, think differently about each one. There's, I guess, similar threads that exist here, mostly about being happy and enjoying themselves. That kind of idea sort of comes through in each one, as you'd expect, because it's about holidays. But it's been interesting to see the diverse range of responses, and I think hopefully I've responded to that with a relatively diverse complement of perfumes here. Two minutes to go until the next perfume gets created. Pop this scale back on. Grab a bottle. Certainly, Scented Souvenirs has been a project that I've enjoyed doing. Slightly different, as I say, to my usual perfume making sort of experience, which tends to be quite isolating for me. I go away and think about it on my own. But the idea that I'm sharing the process, or certainly my thought process, when it comes to perfume making, is quite a new experience for me, and it's always good to sort of challenge your own sort of processes and change up your processes a bit to see what works and what doesn't. So very happy with that, certainly. And it's been a good weekend in general. It's been nice to be able to deliver this, because obviously with it being a physical festival, we didn't know at one point if it was ever going to happen, or we didn't know in what capacity it was going to happen. So the fact that it happened in an online sort of way has been really good. It's allowed more people to engage with the process, because it would have been limited to people in Bridlington if the festival was physical. So there is a positive to come from the fact that it is virtual, definitely. And I'd like to thank ArtWaves once again for their organisation and for being really supportive of the project. It's been great to host it with them, so thank you very much. It is now 2:30. It is now time for the penultimate perfume of the day, pending anybody getting in touch on the chat. And the participant is Jane Pickersgill, who is an artist that I have exhibited with or for previously. Me and my wife Sharon, we run an arts initiative called Frontier here in Sheffield. We've recently opened an art gallery in Sheffield, but before that we sort of worked freelance and delivered open call sort of exhibition opportunities kind of everywhere really, but predominantly in Sheffield. And we've delivered the Frontier Open, which was an open call exhibition for artists in 2018 and 19. Couldn't do it in 20, but hopefully we'll be back this year. But in 2019, I believe Jane was one of the participants. So Jane, if you're watching, thank you for being in the Frontier Open and also for the response that you gave me to do with your 3 words that were about holidays. Jane, your response is actually a little different to the rest of the responses, in that you've actually given me 3 sort of, I guess, 3 scents of your own. You've given me pine, lemon, and rosemary, which obviously are 3 different scents that I could use here. I believe it's based on a walking holiday that you must have gone on. So intuitively, with the 3 words there, the pine, lemon, and rosemary, obviously we could absolutely incorporate pine, lemon, and rosemary into the concoction, because we do have pine, lemon, and rosemary. But I wonder if, as well as doing that, if I can find the pine, as well as doing that, I wonder if we can sort of evoke the idea of being outdoors and going on sort of walking holidays, exploring, and that kind of thing within your perfume. As such, I'm going to use, let's have a look. How did a minute ago? Okay, so I'm going to use patchouli, just to, well, for one thing, we don't have a base note here. We have 2 top notes, so they're the 2 things that you smell first. Then the middle notes, and then we don't have a base note. We don't have anything that leaves a lasting impression if I just use the pine, lemon, and rosemary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add patchouli. Patchouli sort of reminds me of being outdoors, reminds me of sort of exploring, reminds me of that kind of earthiness and that kind of sort of woody sort of scent of being outside. So I think, as well as the pine, lemon, and rosemary, we'll add a hint of patchouli as well, just to give the whole perfume a little bit of body, and to make it a little bit more complex. Yeah, I think that's all we need to do. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes the responses, I start thinking in quite a complex and abstract sort of way, and then sometimes it's quite a simple sort of clear sort of way, and both ways are perfectly and equally sort of valid. So I'm going to go for quite a literal interpretation, with the added patchouli, just to give it that sort of edge. So as ever, it's going to be 5 drops of each of these fragrances in order to achieve a 5% eau de toilette fragrance. So the 5% fragrance and 95% perfume as alcohol. And we'll begin with the patchouli. Here it comes, slowly. Quite a bit came out there, that's okay. We'll get that soon. Yeah. Pine needle next. Oh, that's only 4, 5. Lemon next. 5 of that. And of course 5 of the rosemary. So we've got quite an outdoor sort of vibe going on, as you'd expect. We've got the rosemary, 3, 4, 5 of the rosemary, pine needle patchouli, quite sort of earthy, sort of light woody sort of sense. That's going to be quite punctuated by the sort of the sweetness and the freshness of the lemon. So a nice complement of fragrances there. It should be a very nice sort of kind of earthy but light fragrance. Perfume is alcohol time, of course, as ever. It's 30 ml. And it's bottle on time. Quick shake. Normally 2-minute shake, but here we're going to just do a quick shake. And it is time now for the label to be made. So Jane, thank you very much for your response. Your perfume has been created. Rosemary, lemon. Pine patchouli. Splendid. So evocative of the walking holiday that was mentioned, with rosemary, lemon and pine, and then patchouli just to round things off and continue to allude to the idea of being outside and exploration. That is the patchouli made, Jane. The perfume made, Jane. Thank you very much, as ever, for everybody's response. Thank you indeed, Jane, for your response. Your 3 words. Yeah. Quite difficult to see them all now, isn't it? There they all are. There must be about 25 there now. So that is the penultimate one made. So the final perfume, pending anybody getting in touch over the live chat, that I'm going to make is going to happen at 2:45. So we've got a few minutes. Well, we've got about 7 or 8 minutes left until we make that, which is good. If anybody has any sort of final questions or final thoughts, now's the time to get involved. Check on Facebook to see if anybody's got involved through checking out my Facebook posts. Oh, I think she is. Oh, so we have got a live one here. We've got my mum, Karen Borkowsky, who has offered 3 words. Waterfalls, black sand, and sea are the ones that have been mentioned. So, thank you, Mum, for your contribution. That's great. So waterfalls, black sand, and sea. I assume that's referring to a certain holiday that you went on recently. Well, about a year, probably about 2 years ago now. in Iceland. It sounds like it to me, but maybe that's not the case. Anyway, I don't want to think too much about that. Let's think more about the actual words used. Waterfalls, black sand, and sea. So with sea, we have got the idea of the sea sort of breeze scent, which I use quite a lot in these sessions. But it does sort of bridge the whole kind of project together in terms of, you know, holidays are quite synonymous with those kind of with the sea. So yeah, we've got that. I'm going to add. So we've got that one. We've also got. So that represents the sea. So black sand and waterfalls are what else we've got left. Black sand and waterfalls. That's a tricky one to think of. Let's have a look what we've got. It's going to be more to do with how those kind of things make you feel, I suppose. Waterfalls, obviously, they're very sort of powerful things and very sort of, I guess they, especially given their size, they sort of put things into perspective for you a little bit. I'm speaking more. I've seen Niagara Falls in real life, and it's just there's a certain power to it and a certain vastness to it that I guess just puts you and your sort of placement on the world into sort of perspective. And I don't know, you know, that's kind of my interpretation of what a waterfall can do. You know, when it's at its grandest, at its biggest, and that idea of sort of, you know, power and grandeur and feeling sort of grounded, but also feeling kind of content and, you know, understanding of your sort of place within the world. This is getting quite high end now, I suppose. But what I'm trying to say is things like there are essential oils that are kind of quite grounding in that sort of therapeutic way, such as sort of frankincense, which has a certain sort of gravity sort of to it and sort of heaviness to it that in an abstract way is quite evocative of a waterfall. So I'm going to use frankincense and summer fresh, no, not summer fresh, sea breeze fragrance. Yeah, sea breeze fragrance. So yeah, frankincense, sea breeze, and then to sort of evoke the idea of black sand. I guess again, it's kind of thinking about how you feel being sort of within that kind of kind of environment. I guess it's a little bit alien to us because our sand isn't black. It's a different sort of sand. Therefore, the idea that, you know, you've gone somewhere and it's you're exploring sort of new sort of countries, new territories, is something that I could utilise. We have, again, maybe I should use that Raven Sava, that kind of. Yeah, I'm going to use the Raven Sava. This is the Madagascan sort of herbal sort of scent that we used earlier. That kind of sense of sort of otherness and, you know, new territories, things you've not seen before, and that kind of sense of exploration is what I'm going to sort of, is the reason why I'm using the Raven Sava to reference black sand. So quite an abstract interpretation of my mum's 3 words there, but, you know, absolutely nothing wrong with that. So frankincense to sort of symbolize that power from waterfalls. Summer fragrance. It's not summer fragrance. It is sea breeze fragrance. I don't know what I keep saying. It's summer sea breeze fragrance. That's what. Anyway, summer sea breeze fragrance to represent the sea sort of breeze and that kind of idea of holidays. And then Raven Sava can just sort of allude to the idea of that otherness. That's the fact that you're somewhere different. It's the fact that you're exploring something new and, you know, exotic. So quite simple perfume in how it's composed, and I think because there's only 3 scents being used, I think I'll put 7 drops of each note in. That should equal around 5%. Oh, I'm going to put 5 in. So frankincense and then summer fragrance. Summer Sea Breeze fragrance is next. Summer Sea Breeze fragrance is next. Summer Sea Breeze fragrance is a fragrance oil. It's one of those oils that's sort of evocative of you know, summer sea breeze. It's a little bit salty, kind of fresh, a little bit earthy as well. Raven Star is next, alluding to the sort of otherness and exploration. 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that is my mum's perfume made based on her response. Thank you, Mum, for your response there. 30 ml of perfume as alcohol is ever going in to dilute the fragrance and create a perfume. In we go. Quick shake. And the label. And then frankincense. Summer Sea Breeze. And Raven Star. There we are, sorted. That is an impromptu perfume there from my mum. It was responded through Facebook. Thank you, Mum. And there we go. That is your perfume created. Pop that at the front there. I've noticed, Mum, that you've asked another question about the perfume and painting. I will answer that, but I will just finish the final perfume before I answer that of the day, pending anybody getting in touch. 2:45 is when I was going to make Anthony's perfume. A little bit later than that now, but that's okay. Anthony Carr is this participant, the final participant. Anthony is an artist that we have, I say we, me and Sharon, under the guise of Frontier, I've worked with a few times in terms of, I think he was in the Frontier Open 2018, he might be 2019 as well. We've also talked some of his work internationally with us, and indeed he's an international kind of guy these days. He lives in Canada, so I don't think he's awake to watch this live, but if you are, hi Anthony. Your three responses, your three words that you've given us are sun cream, salt, and sand. So sun cream, salt, and sand as the three words Anthony has given us. So with this one, I sort of feel like taking all three of them and creating a perfume sort of broadly based on all three, rather than trying to depict individual words for individual fragrances. So, because instantly what's happened is it's reminded me of just being on the beach, sort of in a more general sort of sense, I guess, being on the beach and sort of how that makes you feel, and you know, all of the sort of connotations with being happy and on holiday and relaxed and hot, you know, and all those kind of connotations. So I think I'm going to take all three of those words and create a perfume that's, I guess, more broadly about being on the beach. Sun cream, salt, and sand. Well, with sun cream, the idea that you, the reason why you wear sun cream, of course, is because it's hot and because the sun is blaring and it's out and you don't want to get burned. So something that's hot and something that's sort of representative of the sun in general would be a nice way to go about doing things. As such, we're going to use sweet orange to represent the sort of the sun. We're also going to add a bit of black pepper, and that's sort of quite literally going to give us a bit of a heat, a bit of spice, which is sort of representative of being in a sort of hot environment. We're going to use our old favourite, the Summer Sea Breeze again, because I think, especially with the black pepper, I think that will be a nice complement to sort of evoke the idea that we're sort of on a beach. And of course we've got sand as something that we could think about. Again, it's more about how things make you feel, and being on the beach, on a sandy beach, you know, it is relaxing, it's calming, it's happy, quite content. I suppose you'd be quite content being on the beach. As such, I think it's time to get out the Liang Liang again, because from an aromatherapy sort of context, Liang Liang is a very relaxing sort of essential oil to use. So we've gone a little bit abstract here. We've got the Liang Liang is more about how you feel about being on a beach and that calming sort of influence a beach has. The sweet orange is more to do with being out in the sun and using sun cream because you don't want to get hot. The black pepper is a physical sort of manifestation of being hot, being a little bit spicy. And the Summer Sea Breeze sort of bridges everything together really, and makes you sort of, tries to make a coherent sort of landscape of being on the beach. So there we go, a slightly abstract interpretation of Anthony's response there. So, for the final time today, pending anybody getting in touch, we're going to make the perfume, starting with the Liang Liang, the relaxing element. 1, 4, 5 of each, I think, here. Five of Liang Liang, 5 of summer fragrance, Summer Sea Breeze fragrance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that came up quite quickly then. 5 of that. I'm going to put just 2 of black pepper in because it can be quite an overwhelming scent. But I'm going to put 7 of the sweet oranges. It's going to have a very sort of orangey, sort of fresh, cooling sort of beginning because it's a top note. 1, 7. Splendid. So we have got the perfume's alcohol to add. Splendid. Top goes on as ever in a quick shake. And Anthony Carr, your perfume has been created. Quick sniff of this. And then put the ingredients on. And there is the final perfume that we have made for Scented Souvenirs, pending, of course, anybody else getting involved in the live chat or the chat through Facebook. I am technically here till 3 o'clock, so do feel free to continue to talk if you wanted to. Anthony, there you go, sir. That is the final perfume made. We've got loads here. 1, 2, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 25. I've also made an extra one for a different sort of a different YouTube video, but 25 Scented Souvenirs created there, which is great, fantastic. Sweet orange. and summer sea breeze. Quick wipe. I've not forgotten the question that my mum asked about 15 minutes ago. Yeah, I'm just going to quickly tidy up there. Now, Mum, what did you ask? It was, can you? So my mum, about 15 minutes ago, through YouTube, through Facebook rather, asked, can you put perfume in paint? The answer to that is yes, you can put perfume in paint. In fact, I did create a series, well, 1 or 2 paintings where I used perfume physically in the paint itself. Obviously, it was I did it so that with the intention that the painting sort of retained a certain scent to it, and it did for about an hour or so, and then it sort of evaporated quite quickly. It made because it was obviously with the perfume, you're sort of adding, you're almost diluting the paint by putting perfume in the paint, so it ended up being quite a watery sort of painting that I did, and didn't quite work as I expected it to. It was perfectly fine, but it didn't quite work how I expected it to. I wanted it to be a sort of a scented painting, really. So what I did instead, after doing that, was I created a painting, and I actually just dabbed essential oil on the back of it, on the back of the canvas. It sort of seeped through the canvas. And sort of the intention was, because it would be against a wall, it would be in quite a dark sort of place with the essential oil, so it wouldn't sort of evaporate very quickly. And indeed, it didn't. It did sort of stay scented for a long time. In fact, it still is a little bit scented now. It's in my studio. So yeah, it was kind of one of those situations where I did put perfume in paint as a means to try and make a painting smell a certain way, and it didn't quite work, but what I did instead was went back and used sort of the raw ingredients of perfume in order to get a painting to retain a certain scent. So yeah, to answer the question, yes, you can. It doesn't necessarily retain its scent for long, but it's a perfectly viable thing to do if you wanted to experiment a little bit. Who knows, you might be able to get it so that it retains the scent better than I did. But yeah, I've certainly done that before. Maybe I'll do it again. Let's put a bit of the old the alcohol gel. I'm putting alcohol gel in my hands, not really because I've grown up by this. Actually, it's more to do with the fact that I've used quite a lot of essential oils and just trying to get the oil sort of scent sort of off my hands a little bit. Obviously, I will wash the hands after the live session. We have got about 2 or 3 minutes to go, so now is the time to ask me anything you like. I don't mind doing an impromptu perfume right at the end. Happy to go over slightly if anybody wants a perfume made, but otherwise that will be the end of Scented Souvenirs, certainly for the time being. Hopefully, I don't know exactly what's going to happen with ArtWaves. There's talk of there being some sort of physical element to it further down the line, which would be fantastic if that happens. If it doesn't happen, I think maybe I'll continue with Scented Souvenirs in one capacity or another, because it's been a nice experience talking to people online. So maybe I'll continue to do that a bit further down the line. So thank you very much. I guess thank yous are in order. Thank you for any participants. Thank you for any questions that have been asked over the course of the 2 days. Thank you for the interaction. Thank you for keeping me company. Thank you for allowing me to sort of make these Scented Souvenirs, because without the participants, it wouldn't exist. So thank you to everybody. Thank you, of course, to ArtWaves as well, ArtWaves Festival, to Lauren and Ellen and anybody else that was involved in setting up, organising ArtWaves Festival. You've all been really, really good, really fantastic. Good support, good organisation, especially when things went a little bit wrong last year with coronavirus. It's been great that you've managed to actually deliver a festival. Huge amount of respect there for you, because I can imagine it being a very difficult process. Thanks. That's kind of anybody really to thank. Thanks for the Facebook comments. Thanks for anybody that's liked or subscribed to my channel or done any of that kind of stuff since Scented Souvenirs came on, and hopefully see you in the flesh at some point. As I said earlier, me and my wife have got an art gallery open in Sheffield, Frontier Gallery, which opens to the public from the 12th of April. So if you fancy a bit of art in a physical sort of world, feel free to pop down the Exchange Street in the Castlegate area of Sheffield. And if not, hopefully I'll see you all in some capacity at some point down the line this year. So thanks once again, everybody. Oh my goodness, we've got a very quick, we've got a question from Liana, who I made a perfume for at the top of the show, who's very cheekily come in at the end there. She's asked, not holiday related, but what perfumes or essential oils would you suggest are associated with concentration or to help retain focus? Well, from the context of aromatherapy, which is something that I sort of dabble in a little bit with the work that I make, there's quite a few that sort of help with that sort of retaining of focus, and they tend to be ones that are a little bit more sort of spicy, so that kind of physically they kind of jolt you a little bit. And we're talking about things like peppers, mint, spearmint, peppermint, black pepper, pimento berry, and then things like ginger and nutmeg as well, where they do kind of they give you a bit of a physical reaction. They kind of you smell them and you sort of jolt a little bit, in quite a kind of a physical way, and apparently they sort of aid with the retaining of focus, or give you a bit of clarity that you need to concentrate and to retain, or sort of initiate a certain sort of focus. Focus is the mind, I believe, is the expression. You've also got things like frankincense, which is quite a grounding sort of essential oil, but it's, I don't know, there's something about it for me that kind of clears the mind a little bit and allows you to focus. So maybe there's that as well. But certainly, yeah, I'd say peppers, mints, and frankincense have all got that kind of capacity to help you there. So thank you very much for your question, Liana. If anybody has any more questions, you've got about 30 seconds to get them in. But I will say once again, thank you to everybody. It's been fantastic. I will have a very, very quick last check of Facebook to make sure nothing else has been asked of me. Nope. And that is Scented Souvenirs done and dusted. Thanks very much once again. And hopefully I'll see you all down the line at some point, whether it be for an art reason or just for a general sort of social reason. Thanks, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.